Welcome to The World Today. I'm Sana Maqbool, and in today's program, we will be taking a look at the situation in Kashmir and what the steps forward will be for Pakistan in this regard. We'll also be taking a look at the former US envoy's statement by Cameron Munter, who has said that there is, of course, a lot of concern by the international community, particularly the human rights organizations from around the world, in what is going on in Indian-occupied Kashmir. He's also condemned the situation there and the atrocities there, adding that this is being received all over the world, and there is a major concern regarding this. We'll talk about what that means and what is the step forward now that the UN General Assembly session is over. We'll also be taking a look at the recent reshuffle in which Munir Akram is replacing Maliha Lodi as Pakistan's envoy to the United Nations, and this has happened in the aftermath of the UN General Assembly session and the successful visit of Prime Minister Imran Khan in the USA. We'll take a look at exactly what could be the possible reasons for this change and what that signifies, and how is that going to impact the way he's going to be representing us at the United Nations, since of course the government has not given any reasons in this regard. We'll also be taking a look at the statement by the State Bank's governor, who has said that Pakistan will not be returning to the IMF program anytime soon, and that the way the program is going forward and the steps that are being taken by the Pakistani government will sort of make sure that this does not happen. But we'll see exactly what needs to be done in this regard to make sure that we actually do not let that happen. To talk more about this, we have been joined in the studios by IR expert, Mr. Dr. Adnan Sever. Thank you for being with us, sir. And we've also been joined in the studio by our expert in ME Global Village Space, Najma Minhas. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. I'll start with, of course, the statement that we've recently seen by the former US envoy, who has said that there's a lot of concern by international human rights organizations around the world. But he's also pointed towards the fact that there is, he doesn't really see any particular solution forthcoming between India and Pakistan. And much of that, of course, also relies on whether or not India is going to lift the curfew and come to the negotiating table. So in terms of what we can expect for a tangible solution in Kashmir, what do these condemnations really signify?
Well, to be honest, I would start with the Prime Minister's speech, in which he said, if you remember, that he ended with that I am warning you. It's not a threat, but it's a fair worry. He used the words fair worry, and that really worked on. Reason being, the sane world throughout the world, they have listened to our Prime Minister, and they are worried about it. Everybody is talking about it. Cameron Munter, he has highlighted it, and he is very right about it. European Union is concerned, United Nations is concerned. You know, all of the organizations that has something to do with the human rights and who are working day and night for the human rights, they are talking about it. And I think Prime Minister's speech, it has created the impact which we were looking for, and things would be shaping up in a positive way. When it comes to Kashmir resolve, of course, these things would really help in resolving the Kashmir issue. First of all, as we know, that Prime Minister demanded that the curfew must be lifted. We would be seeing in coming future that it would be lifted very soon. If it doesn't get lifted, then of course we would see more organizations talking more about it, and United Nations, as Prime Minister has highlighted, that they have a responsibility to intervene and to make sure that people of Kashmir are considered, children of not a lesser God. They should be considered as children of an equal God. And I see positive changes happening in Kashmir.
Right. Now, Mr. Cameron Munter has also made a statement in which he has said that there are fast changes happening in India. What exactly do you think he could be pointing towards, since we don't really seem to see a change in the situation in Kashmir there?
Well, I personally think he's referring to the right-wing movement that's happening in India. The fact that over the last course of the 5 years under the Modi government, we already saw a movement towards the right wing. But after winning the election with such a large majority that he did, He has now come and said that, this was all stated in our manifesto. We've said we're going to do the NRC all over the country. We are going to take India back to the real civilization. That is that civilization, the 3,000-year-old civilization that he referred to in the UNGA as well. And for them, civilization, the Hindu civilization does not include the Muslim civilization. They're very clear that the 1,000+ years of Muslim civilization is not their civilization. So they think they were invaded by those Muslims. So that change, I think Cameron Mantra was referring to, was the movement of India towards the right. I mean, that's what I personally think.
Right. Now, of course, since the 5th of August, we know that there's been a momentum going on in terms of Pakistan also making huge efforts in highlighting the issue, and the international community also responding to an extent which is not seen before. In that sense, now that the UN General Assembly session is over, do you think that this could actually die down? What would be the next step for Pakistan to making sure that the world doesn't forget the Kashmiris?
Whatever the speech's impact was, it has been created. Now, this is the time that the government of Pakistan and foreign office, they need to make efforts. They need to send delegations throughout the world. They need to send representatives that could be member of parliament. They could be sent all of the countries, all of the powerful countries of the world. Reason being, yes, impact goes down when you don't do anything post to that, and they have to do it now. I remember I attended one of the press conference held at Foreign Office. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, just before India abrogated Article 370 and illegally annexed Kashmir, just before that, he mentioned that they were already thinking about sending representative of the government to different countries to talk on the issue of Kashmir, and then suddenly this thing happened, this thing appeared, and the dimensions, they got changed. They have to do it now. They already had planned. The same plan should be implemented now, and wherever it is needed, they must send. And I must say that Pakistan should not forget the powerful bloc. Two countries, they are considered as very powerful in the region, Russia and China. They should be contacted on immediate basis, and they should be the ones who sit with Pakistan and carry it forward.
Another thing which has come to light, of course, is the fact that there is also a need to keep working towards strengthening our strategic position, to making sure that our voice is something which is not ignored by the international community. And in that respect, the fact that the US has asked for help in relation to Iran and what the role that Pakistan can play in terms of the peace deal in Afghanistan seems to be two important factors in making sure that Pakistan's strategic position is something which cannot be ignored. How do you see the future in these two capacities for Pakistan?
So, I mean, to go back first to the question about the impact, how do we continue with the impact after the UNGA? Yesterday's movement where Ambassador Lodi was replaced by Ambassador Munir Akram is one reflection of that. Ambassador Munir Akram is a known hawk on Indian foreign policy. He's a very strong believer in Kashmir, the rights of Kashmiris. He's always contested that this policy of just listening to India and lying low and focusing on trade is not the way you're going to bring India to the table, and ignoring Kashmir in that. So I think, that impact that you're referring to, that how do we continue the impact, you've brought in Munir Akram especially for this reason. Secondly, he has a lot of experience in the UN. He already in 2002 to 6 spent 2008. He spent 6 years in the as permanent representative of Pakistan to the UN. He's also been Pakistan's permanent representative to the Geneva. So he has a lot of UN experience, and so that it also implies that the Prime Minister does think, like he said to the UN, that this is your responsibility. You need to do something about it. So it implies that the Prime Minister thinks that the UN does have a role in this, and maybe he wants a very assertive ambassador sitting in the UN who's going to push that along. Not to say that Malia Lodi was not; she was obviously an excellent ambassador in her tenure. But maybe the Prime Minister at this point felt that he wanted that new face. In terms of the strategy, of course, I mean, we all heard that Imran Khan has mentioned mediation possibilities between Saudis and Iran and US and Iran. So that's out there, and we've already seen a toning down of if you hear what MBS recently said in his interview, he said that having a war with Iran would be absolutely catastrophic for oil prices. So it's clear that they are also taking a step back, and they realize that we don't want to go down this road. I think the pressure that Mohammed bin Salman has been under due to other factors that have happened has also made him aware of this fact that at this point it may not be the best thing to do to take on Iran as well when the world's not ready. So I definitely think the Prime Minister could play a huge role in that mediation, because he seems to have good chemistry with both of those individuals, with all three individuals in fact, Rouhani, Trump and with MBS.
Right, and speaking more about the appointment of Mr. Munir Akram to the United Nations, in terms of course, the way that you've described, the way he's going to be taking probably a firmer stance, and he wants that as part of the United Nations. But in his visit to the UN General Assembly also, he's also pointed towards the disappointment towards international community and sort of the redundancy of the United Nations if it doesn't do anything in terms of that's what the role is for the United Nations. So in that respect, even if we have somebody who's there to push forward the Kashmiri stance, is the UN really a body that we can actually look towards for helping the Kashmiri situation? Because at the end of the day, there are also world powers there that are calling the shots.
About Munir Akram, according to my sources, he was already helping Prime Minister regarding his speech, and Prime Minister actually met with Munir Akram before going to UNGA. Reason being, he wanted his input. Whenever it comes to Kashmir, you are very right that Munir Akram is considered as a maestro and of diplomacy. And yes, UN is important, but we should not be forgetting that we have been relying upon UN for so long, and they couldn't even save Kashmir from India, and we have seen that they overtook all of the resolutions of United Nations, and all of the resolutions, they just overtook them, and they just didn't give a heed to that, and they illegally annexed Kashmir and against the United Nations. And I think this is the time that United Nations need to think about it. Everyone remembers that in 1939, what we saw was, as Prime Minister highlighted it as well, that appeasement was done. League of Nations, which was created after First World War, it was considered as meaningless in 1939. Now is the time that United Nations must think about it. Do they really want the reputation of 1939, when League of Nations was considered as nothing? This is the time. If United Nations can't do anything, then it would be considered something as a League of Nations. So it won't be having any future. So they have to think about it. But when it comes to other blocks like G20 and our own SCO bloc of the region, I think it is very important to highlight issue of Kashmir in there as well. But like I said earlier, that countries like China and Russia, who are having a very good cooperation between them, they are turning out to be the countries who have the relevant power or the relevant will we are looking for. So we must interact with them more.
Right. Another thing that the Prime Minister has mentioned in his speech was that when he talked about the persecution that Muslims are facing all over the world, and he talked about Islamophobia, he sort of also linked that with the way the Kashmiris are being treated, and that they're persecuted based on the fact that they're Muslims. But especially with regards to how the Arab world views the issues in Kashmir, this seems to be, do you agree that this seems to be a bit of a problem in terms of the fact that maybe they're not really looking at this issue as a Muslim issue?
No, I agree with you 100%. That's clearly what they're seeing it as. They're seeing it as a South Asian issue. They do not, otherwise they wouldn't take such a strong stance on Palestine, and yet on Kashmir ignore the same kind of atrocities that are happening. In fact, I would say worse atrocities that are happening in Kashmir. Over 100,000 people we know have died since 1989, 12,000 women have been raped. Even under the recent curfew, 13,000 boys have disappeared. So the kind of rapes that we are seeing in Kashmir, you don't get that in Palestine issue with Israel. Israeli soldiers do not go and rape Palestinian women. Indian soldiers go and rape Kashmiri women. So yes, I think Arab world clearly does not understand that this is not to do with South Asia and this is not to do with Pakistan. The reason why India is doing this is because they hate Muslims. And for some reason, and I understand business interests obviously plays a part in that, but for some reason they decide that they want to ignore the fact that Modi is a right-winger, Hindutva ideology believer, and they wanted to conduct business with him. And it's not until actually the Arab world also takes a stance that we will actually see any kind of improvement of any kind of behavior from the Modi government.
Right, and the economic interests were also very clearly pointed out by the Prime Minister, and he's just sort of questioned the morality of the international community in terms of whether they're going to look at a big market or a human rights issue. But with not just the Arab world, but with other countries also with relations to India, especially with the US also looking towards a trade deal with India, it seems to be that even the suffering of more than 7 decades of the current curfew, which is about to reach 2 months, doesn't seem to take precedence over economic interests. So is that going to call out really going to make a difference?
Well, to be very fair, it was very intelligent of Prime Minister that he turned the tables on India, saying that they are always been considered as 1.2 billion people market, and majority of the countries, they look upon India just because of one reason, that yes, they have skilled labor, yes, they have a population, educated population as well. I mean, not all of them, but still they have a significant number of people who are well educated, considered as well educated. So they always been considered as a very good market for them. Through the economic lens they have been looked at. With India, when it comes to America, there is another concern for America. Of course, America is having a trade war going on with China, and that is quite important for the region as well. China has expansions. We already know that they have expanded in the East China Sea, and though the Americans, they have presence in the South Korea and in Japan in terms of active troops as well. Like they have 35,000 in South Korea and 40,000 in stationed troops in Japan. So Americans, they think that they would be able to counter any threats raised by China in East China Sea, but when it comes to South China Sea, they want somebody to counter the Chinese. Of course, Indonesians or Malaysians, they are not willing to do it. Elsewhere, there's only another billionaire in terms of population, India, who can actually is seen as somebody who can counter the Chinese. That's why what we have seen in the recent past, that Americans, they have been helping out India in mending their naval forces or improving their naval forces. The only reason one can think of is that they want India to have a counter force against the Chinese, or at least keep China busy in the region. So that's what the American perspective is. I think Prime Minister has highlighted very well that the sane world, they need to rethink about the Indians. If they want them to carry on whatever they are doing in the region and carry out whatever the anti-human activities they want to carry on in their country, just on the behest of the economic gains, then this is stupid of the countries, I must say.